All praises to Yahawah, who the word ignorantly calls God, Bahashem, meaning in the name of, Yahawah Shai, aka who the word ignorantly calls Jesus. Double honors to all sincere elders and apostles, and salutation to all those sincere brothers that are pushing the truth, and to those sincere sisters who are listening and learning. As you can see, this lesson is entitled, Forget Yahawah. And in this lesson, we're going to look at a story in the Bible and two men who decided to forget Yahawah. Even though they knew, they decided to forget, and we're going to look at their latter end, what happened to them, and how that applies to our lives today. Because the Lord has poured out His Spirit. The Lord has given us wisdom and knowledge and understanding to understand who He is. But we're going to see what it looks like when you decide to forget Yahawah. Okay, you don't have to forget Him completely. You could be like David, when David decided to go commit adultery. You know, David took Yahawah's out of his mind. David at that point forgot Yahawah. So we're going to see what some of those consequences are. Susanna chapter 1 verse 7. It says, Now when the people departed away at noon, Susanna went into her husband's garden to walk. So she's a married woman. And the two elders saw her going in every day and walking, so that their lust was inflamed toward her. Two elders, two judges of Israel. Notice that this beautiful woman, would always go to this garden. And their lust was inflamed to her, knowing that she was married. Verse 19, and they perverted their own mind and turned away their eyes that they might not look unto heaven nor remember just judgment. This is what it looks like to forget Yahawah. This is what it looks like to remove Yahawah from your mind, to become reprobate, to, indulge in your fleshly desires. It says, and they perverted their own mind and turned away their eyes that they might not look unto heaven nor remember just judgment. So they knew just judgment. They were judges of Israel. All right. And this lesson is entitled, Forget Yahawah. Let's continue to see what's going on. Proverbs chapter 6, verse 32. It says, But whoso committeth adultery with a woman, Salaki, let me read verse 10 again. It says, And albeit they both were wounded with her love, yet durst not show one another his grief. So key word, it said that they were wounded with her love. They were so infatuated with her that to the point where, it's considered a wound. And they didn't want to share that information with each other. They just both was burning in their lust for her separately. So I was curious of why I said wound, but a precept came to my mind. Proverbs chapter 6, verse 32, it says, But whoso committeth adultery with a woman lacketh understanding. He that does it destroyeth his own soul. A wound and dishonor shall he get, and his reproach shall not be wiped away. So a wound and reproach. If you continue to read the story of Susanna, not only do these two guys get found out, not only do they get exposed as being corrupt, wicked judges of Israel, but they get put to death. And a wound, it says, Whoso committeth adultery lacketh understanding, he that doth it destroyeth his own soul. A wound and dishonor shall he get. So they went from being high and mighty judges of Israel to being reproached, and ultimately being put to death. But let's continue. Romans chapter 1, verse 28. And even as they did not like to retain Yahawah in their knowledge. So for us who've been given the wisdom and knowledge and understanding of Yahawah, for us who the Lord has revealed, his secrets to us, we have to try to the best of our abilities, not to go off, not to, go into lust, because anytime you going off or doing things you shouldn't be doing, you're pretty much telling Yahawah to get out of your mind. You're telling those words of wisdom to leave your mind. So let me just read it again. Susanna 1:9, it says, And they perverted their own mind and turned away their eyes that they might not look upon heaven nor remember just judgment. We know just judgment. The Lord has poured out his wisdom, knowledge, understanding upon us. We know. They knew, but they decided to forsake it for their own desires. Romans chapter 1, verse 28. And even as they did not like to retain Yahawah in their knowledge, Yahawah gave them over to a reprobate mind, to do those things which are not convenient. This is what happened to these brothers because they put themselves in a predicament of instead of walking in the spirit, instead of walking in faith, they decided to forget Yahawah and walk in the flesh. And they became reprobate to the point where they tried to rape this woman. That's why they end up being put to death. It says, being filled with all unrighteousness, fornication, wickedness, covetousness. There was covetous of this man's wife. You know, they wanted to commit fornication with her. They had wickedness on their mind, maliciousness. They wanted to have her murdered because she didn't sleep with them. Full of envy. They envied, you know, the fact that she didn't want to sleep with them, you know, because of her beauty. Backbiters. They backbited on the words of Yahawah. They didn't fulfill them. They were judges of Israel. You know, it says, filled with wickedness, fornication, covetousness, malice, maliciousness, full of envy, murder. They tried to murder her. Debate. You know, they debated their cause in front of all of the house of Israel, saying that they caught her, you know, committing adultery. They lied and said she was committing adultery with some random dude. They was being deceitful. Malignity. Let me see what that word is real quick. Romans 1:28. Bad character, depravity of heart and life, subtle, malicious craftiness, and they was trying to be crafty by trying to, you know, rape her, man, and also trying to deceive the whole house of Israel. Whisperers. I think that might go into like, you know, just passing on lies and stuff. Secret slander, detractor, yes, secret slander. So they was slandering this woman. They both knew they were lying on her, you know, in secret, you know, saying that she was committing adultery on her husband, trying to get her murdered. Continuing, without understanding, covenant breakers, you know, they decided not to look up to heaven and remember the judges of the words of Yahawah. Without natural affliction, committing adultery, unmerciful. They didn't show no mercy to her. Who, knowing the judgment of Yahawah, they knew the judgments. They were judges of Israel. They knew the consequences of adultery, but they still wanted to do it. Who knowing the judgment of Yahawah, that they which commit such things are worthy of death, not only do the same, but have pleasure in them that do them. So these judges of Israel were judges. They knew what was right. The Lord taught them up in a way to be judges in Israel. They had to know the scripture. Yet they decided to forget Yahawah. And this is a stern warning for us brethren, you know, and especially even on the topic of adultery or any other sins that we may have in this world. James chapter 4 verse 6. But he giveth more grace, wherefore he saith, Yahawah resisteth the proud, but giveth grace unto the humble. Submit yourselves therefore to Yahawah. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you. Draw nigh to Yahawah, and he will draw nigh unto you. Cleanse your hands, ye sinners, and purify your hearts, ye double-minded. These guys were double-minded, man, and we can't afford to be that. Be afflicted and mourn and weep. Let your laughter be turned to mourning, and your joy to heaviness. Humble yourselves in the sight of Yahawah, and he shall lift you up. So we've been given the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. There's much more expected of us as workers of Yahawah B'Shem Yahushai than those who are without Yahawah B'Shem Yahushai. They are without. They don't have Yahawah in all their thoughts. Save, Lord willing, that the Lord eventually, you know, rise them out of that dry bone state. But the point is that we have to the best of our abilities, stay on point, because just like David, King David fell, committed adultery, these guys going off. When we decide to take Yahawah out of our mind and go venture off and sin, it brings forth death, man. You know, yes, the Lord is merciful, but you know, don't, he don't play with fire. So with that being said, number one, avoid adultery to the best of your abilities. Shalom.